Welcome to Control Forward. We're not here to make anyone feel stupid or ashamed, but I do have a real question that I gotta ask. Why do some good, thoughtful men, whether overlooked by the system or not, end up worshiping someone like Trump? This isn't just about Trump, it's about projection and the mirror it holds up to all of us. Trump isn't just supported, he's idolized. Even after the lies, felony convictions, and shady connections, some still call it strength. But are they really admiring him or what he represents? Projection, unconsciously placing our desires or fears onto someone else, is powerful. For some men, Trump is confidence without apology, power without accountability, attention without shame. But projection isn't one size fits all. In this case, it tends to show up in two ways: desire and fear. Some men desire or admire, better said, Trump because they want his boldness, his I don't care what you think energy. For a man who feels invisible or disrespected, that's intoxicating. And it's exactly the kind of emotional hook skilled manipulators know how to exploit. Others fear weakness so much, so deeply, that vulnerability feels like danger. Raised on don't cry, don't say sorry, they see emotion not as courage, but as threat. A threat. Projection becomes the armor. And when someone knows how to tap into that fear, it becomes one of the most effective tools of emotional manipulation. Here's the paradox: when you see someone breaking that no vulnerability rule and still thriving, it forces you to question everything you've built your identity on. And I don't mean Trump here. I mean the opposite: someone who shows emotion, admits mistakes, and even cries, and still earns respect. If they can be vulnerable and win, maybe your never show weakness code was wrong. And that feels unsettling. So instead of embracing it, many reject it. Trump, well, he reinforces the no vulnerability rule. That's why for some men, he feels safe to admire. He never triggers the contradiction. He doesn't challenge anything. If you admire Trump, though, if you admire his dominance, is it still strength if it silences others and rejects vulnerability? That question shapes who we allow to lead. Look at Kamala Harris, dismissed by many as too ambitious, not tough enough, not because of her ability, but because of her style that doesn't match the old script. Yet somehow, a man like Trump, a billionaire born into wealth, who's never walked a mile in most people's shoes, feels relatable. That's not relatability. That's projection, shielding the ego from collapse. Sometimes we defend leaders not because they're right, but because they make us feel less wrong. And that's where emotional manipulation hides best, dressed up as loyalty. Research shows when diehard supporters hear negative facts about their candidate, logic shuts down and identity takes over. Trump doesn't just appeal to the powerless, though. He appeals to men afraid of being replaceable. Beneath that fear is something heavier: the realization that the ground has shifted. The world they once knew is gone and it's not coming back. And the world shifting to them means authority isn't automatic. Status doesn't guarantee respect, and kids question what you taught them. But that's grief. And most of us were never taught how to feel or deal with grief or any form of it. Trump says, no, you're right all along. The world's the one that's gone crazy. But that's not policy. That's emotional reassurance. And for some, emotional manipulation. Once you fuse your identity to a figure, letting go doesn't feel like change. It feels like shame. And shame is one of the easiest emotions to manipulate because we'll do almost anything to avoid it. This was never just about Trump. It's about us. what we project, what we fear, what we think strength is. And listen, falling for the noise, hiding from the shame, or not knowing how to face grief doesn't make you broken. It makes you human. The point isn't blame. The point is catching it before it hardens into something worse. That's the work. That's the fight worth having. So here's a self check. The next time that you find yourself defending someone so fiercely, it feels personal when they're criticized, ask this. If they were talking about me instead, would it sting the same? If yes, then maybe you're defending the parts of yourself you projected onto them. If something in this episode stirred you, don't run from it. Reflect, be brave, talk about it. I've added references and reflection questions in the description below. Take your time with it. Skip the ones that feel too heavy and come back later if you need to. If you found value in this episode, like, comment, and subscribe so we can keep moving forward together. And in the next episode, we'll be talking about how propaganda primes people to accept cruelty. Let's control forward.